Yo, yes, yes. It is your boy T.Till, Conversations of the Heart, Season 2, Episode 12. Thank you for rocking with me. It's my launch day too. Appreciate y'all supporting me. Sorry for a little bit late. First time being late to the live, but I definitely appreciate you. We're gonna have a good conversation with Eshe Killian. She's here right now. We're gonna get into this conversation on shame. I think here she is right now. Let's see.
Hello.
Okay, Eshe. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so sorry. I guess I don't know what happened there.
Nah, it's all right. It's all right. It's all good. Definitely thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Want to get into this conversation surrounding shame. But first of all, I just want to say first off, happy early Mother's Day. Happy,
Thank you.
happy early birthday. I know you
Thank
got a
you.
birthday coming up on the same day,
Yes.
Sunday. You are a minister, you're a published author, you are inspirational speaker, you're a director of QA. I
Yes.
mean, the titles are endless, but for the people, just tell them just really just who you are, and where they can find you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Eshe. Don't get messed up with the spelling, but just think of Keisha or Aisha without the K and the I. I like saying that
Uh,
because sometimes people see my name on Instagram or Facebook and they don't want to
right.
say it like they see me in person. So it's Eshe. Eshe Speaks on Instagram. I also
Hmm.
am on Facebook as Eshe Speaks, but I do a lot of
Hmm.
my posting on Facebook because that's like where I share like a lot of things that I'm dealing with or
Hmm.
parts of my life. So yep, that's where you can find me on Instagram, Eshe Speaks, Facebook, Eshe Killian or Eshe Speaks.
Got you. Thank you. So we decided to come up with this topic of shame. So what I want to know is just why do you think it's so important that we discuss this particular topic?
Um, I think shame is an important topic because it affects everyone.
Hmm.
Um, People don't want to even talk about it because it's such a debilitating emotion. It's a word, it's an ugly word, it's an uncomfortable topic. And shame affects everyone, no matter what your station is in life. You may have been affected by feelings of shame. And shame is an emotion. And as human beings, we all have emotions. And shame is a debilitating emotion that states and makes you feel like you are inadequate, makes you feel like you don't belong, and
Hmm.
makes you always question yourself or makes you stay in the past based on your experiences and the things that have happened to you. So the reason why I like to talk about shame is because if you don't address what you've dealt with or traumas that you've experienced, you are pretty much going to stay stuck. So
Mm.
that's why I'm very interested in talking about shame. It's also Mental Health Awareness Month. May is
It
Mental Health
is.
Awareness Month. And shame is an emotion that affects a lot of people with mental health illnesses, mental health and mental illness. So that's something that's been dear to my heart because of my own personal experiences.
Mm. So what about generational shame? I kind of feel like sometimes shame sometimes can get passed down from generation to generation just based off of, just life, right? And what the family has gone through or what the circumstances are. And sometimes the shame of the parents sometimes gets passed down to of the child. Um, so, like, what do you think about generational shame?
Well, just like anything, any type of teaching in the home you're susceptible to just to teach it to your children. If you
Hmm.
have experienced it from your parents or your caretakers and they communicated with you in a certain way, and then you have children, if it's not addressed that to shame your child or anything like that, is something that's an unhealthy way to rear your child, you're more likely to do the same thing unknowingly to your children.
Mm, that's pretty powerful. And earlier, you did say it's Mental Health Awareness Month, which we all know.
Mhm.
Um, and that's why I definitely wanted to do this topic with you today. Um, but you said mental health. So how does shame affect your mental health? Like how does that affect your mental health on a daily basis?
Well, it's how you view yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
how it's how you not it's not how you view yourself. It's there's a difference between self-esteem and shame, right? So
Mm-hmm.
shame is how you feel, and self-esteem is what you think about yourself. So shame affects your mental health because you're always thinking about how you feel, how you show up in the world, how you are relating to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where you kind of find yourself in society and how you view how you're going to be able to achieve or the setbacks that you may have had in your life. It's really it's a driving force about how you feel about yourself. And if you are riddled with feelings of inadequacy or feeling like you don't belong or feeling like you're not good enough, you're always
Mm-hmm.
going to have these problems with your mental health and how you feel. Like you're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to always be in a constant state of worry because you're always concerned about what other people are thinking. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
feel depressed because you're always thinking about what happened in the past and what happened to you or what was said to you, and you're not able to move forward. That's what shame does. It holds you hostage to your past. Everyone has experienced anything in life, right? They've experienced traumas, the big and small, losses, grief, setbacks, death. But if you let those things that have happened, and I'm not minimizing what people have experienced because I've dealt with some traumas of my own, but if
Mm-hmm.
you let that hinder you, you are going to be stuck in that place. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's important. Why I talk about shame is because of my own experiences. But what's important is that you understand that those experiences do not define you. They don't state that this is where you are and who you are and where you belong and where you're going to stay.
Mm. You said a lot right there, but I want to get to inadequacies. I think especially in our community, we deal with that a lot, right? Of like the feeling of not feeling enough, right? Whether that be on the job, right? Whether that be in a relationship, whether that be even in your own family, at church. Like there's always, different places where we always feel like we're just less than. And I think sometimes it could be even just the generation, right? Like we live in a very right now generation. So you might go online and you might see, it could be celebrities, it could be some of your friends that are moving at an accelerated rate. And it appears that they're like on a different level than you, right?
Mhm.
And and so now that in turn, it's like, man, like that makes you feel ashamed of your own accomplishments, right? And you could have just done something really amazing, but then your friend comes along and they might have gotten a BMW, right? And you just bought an Ultima. And you're like, man, like they're doing better than me. Look at their career. They were able to buy this BMW and all I got was an Ultima. Now you were satisfied with that Ultima
Until
before
Yep.
until you saw your friends and stuff. And that's the the shame of what you were talking about of feeling inadequate, right?
Mhm.
Um, so how do you think, and I know we're not experts, but we're experts sometimes in life, right? Because we've been through some things and like, how would somebody kind of overcome that feeling of inadequacy?
Okay, so a couple of things when you were talking about the BMW or the Mercedes and the Altima, I thought about the quote from Teddy Roosevelt that says,
Hmm.
"Comparison is the thief of joy." So
Hmm.
once you start, you're happy with where you are in life. Everyone starts in a different places, right? Once
Hmm.
you're happy with your life, and then you look over at someone else, you're going to start comparing yourself. So one of
Hmm.
methods I can say of um, addressing shame, overcoming shame is by not comparing yourself.
Hmm.
You cannot compare yourself to other people because you don't know other people's experiences. You don't know
Right.
other people's advantages. You don't know other people's disadvantages. And, you know, in the world of social media, in the world of everything glitters on the screen,
Hmm.
we're always talking about our highlights. We're always sharing with everyone on social media our accomplishments. I
Hmm.
rarely see people talking about the days that they really didn't feel like getting out of bed on
Right.
social media. I mean, if
Hmm.
we're getting a little bit better with support on social
Hmm.
media because there are like mental health groups and everything like that. But we have to really realize that like social media is not real. And so if you look at your life based on people's their reels and their stories and their Facebook posts, you're always going to feel like you're inadequate and you're always going to compare. So what I say for myself, what I do for myself, and you know it's difficult, and the reason why I share and talk about shame is because this is my journey.
Hmm.
Um, I have not arrived. I do not even see that I'm going to be at a place where I have arrived, but I'm always in a process of healing. So, what one of the things that I have to do is I have to make sure that I do not compare myself to other people.
Mm. Well, let's be clear. You may not feel like you've arrived, but you know, you got a lot of degrees, like you got a lot of titles, you know what I'm saying? You got a lot of things going for yourself, so don't ever sell yourself short. I'll leave it
No,
at
I'm
that.
not. I'm not. I'm not.
Um, but so we, you know, we've been in this social media world for what, a few years, you know. You know, social media wasn't always here, right? Um, and we still dealt with shame from back in the day. So that comes from, could be family. Hey, Isha, you having that other kid yet? You having another child yet? No? Okay. Are you supposed to have a child by 30? Or you're supposed to have this? Or you're supposed to have this? Or are you in this career? Are you going for this title? Like, everybody comes at you with their own expectations of you, of what they think that you're supposed to be doing,
Mhm.
asking intrusive questions, right? And, you know, these are the things that I feel sometimes culturally really does our community a disservice, right? Because something as simple as, you know, kids, right? It's nobody's business. That's my personal opinion. It's nobody's business when you're going to have another one or when you're going to start having them, right? But we start putting these pressures on your own family members, and then there becomes a shame because you don't know the battles that they're fighting. They could be trying to have kids already, and they
Right.
could be struggling, and you
Right.
don't know that. They could have had miscarriages. They could have had a bunch of different things going on, right? And you don't know that. But you want to put yourself and say, oh, when you're going to have my grandbaby, or when you're going to have my niece or nephew, or da, 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 and not knowing the internal battles that this person is already facing.
Mhm.
And then that puts them in a place of shame, of inadequacy, right? And they do the same thing with marriage. It's so it's not just social media, right? It's social media is a part of it now,
Right.
and we can see it faster. But this has been going on from a long time ago, right? So how do we start having? To me, how do we start having tough conversations? You know, with our own family. You know, because sometimes people, what I realize is we just take it, right?
Right.
They ask these questions, and it's just like, oh, I don't know. And every holiday come around, you ain't got no man, and grandmama coming over and
I know
saying,
you didn't say
hey, you know, when you going to bring somebody over for Thanksgiving?
that.
Not
Hmm.
really understanding what that's truthfully doing to you as a human being, because every day your cousin got a man bringing them over, and you don't, and everybody's asking you, yo, when is your turn? When is your turn? When is your turn? And that comes from a lot of the societal pressures and what people deem is our worth, right? So how do we really start trying to have these conversations with our own family members? Are like, hey, we need to take a pause on these type of conversations and these questions, because I find that because there are elders, we just go okay, and we just kind of just move it to the side. But internally, we're crying out for help?
I don't know. I think just like now, this in this time that we are in, as we're adults in our 30s and 40s, we have to be able to say like, I'm gonna have boundaries. Um, and
That's a big thing.
this is what is going to happen in my life, and this is what my life looks like. And if you don't understand it, then I'm just going to remove myself. For me, I've had different experiences. So
Hmm.
um, usually, when people feel ashamed, they've been the ones who've been called the black sheep of the family. They haven't done anything. They haven't done things the way that their family expected them to do, or they've made some choices or have had situations that are a disappointment to the family. And I've experienced that in my life, being a young mother. And I was raised by my grandmother. And she was really, a very proud woman from the South who always
Hmm.
instilled in me the importance and the value of education. And my mom passed away when I was 5, and she had sickle cell anemia.
Mm.
But my grandmother, what she instilled in my family was the value of education. And even though my mother was very, very sick and always in the hospital, she went to school, she graduated from college. And so she did
Hmm.
the same thing for me. And she said that education was key. That was all you had to do. That's all you had to do. And not only was
Hmm.
the education piece something that she instilled in me, she also put me into the church. That was like those were my frameworks: education and church and religion. And
Black
so
right
in
there.
the family, right, and in the family that I grew up with, so it was just me and my grandmother, and then my cousins and an uncle. And it was like all about just education and things that I didn't even know. Like when I became like older, I was like, I didn't know that happened in the family. But for me, as being known in the community as church girl, smart girl, white girl, whatever. um,
That's a real thing, and
that's
people
the
tend
real
to do
thing.
that. People
That's
tend
the
to do
real
that
thing.
when you're smart and when you're trying to do more for
Right.
yourself than what other people want for
Right.
themselves. They want
Yeah.
to put that label on you. Oh, you think you're a white girl, and it's like, yeah, but that, but since when was that the standard, right?
Right.
Like,
It's like
and that
just because
and
I
that's no
conjugate.
disrespect, but like,
Right. Right.
I just want more for me. So why does that mean that I'm trying to be something that I'm not? But continue. Sorry.
But even just like conjugating a verb, like why is it that because I'm articulate, right? You're gonna call me white girl. But anyway, I digress. But because I had those frameworks, the expectations were, well, this is what you do. And so being in the church and everything like that, that that culture was, you purity culture. So I like to talk about that purity culture, right? Of like, don't have sex before marriage, blah blah, all this stuff. Stay pure. Your relationship with God is dependent on your ability to stay pure. So because I became a teen mom, I was like ostracized.
Ooh. Ah.
I was ostracized in the
Mm.
church. I was like silenced in the church. Really, I was. Just like religious trauma stuff. And then also like isolated because of this mistake. And now that's just church, right? But then there's also the family. The family also did like shun me. And I was
Mm.
like, what's going on? And it was very heartbreaking. And,
Mm.
I already had my own stuff that I was dealing with as a young person.
Mm.
And I didn't understand certain things as a young person. But then to not have that support from the family, that was also something very traumatic. And that was a cause of shame as well. So families have to really understand that the family is the first social construct that you have in society, right? That's the family is a place where you learn different rules. There are
Hmm.
different mores, right, about how to
Hmm.
interact with people, acceptance, belonging. But if you have that and it's broken because of something that happens, or there's no support or lack of support, you're more you're more susceptible to feel inadequate and feel like you don't belong because you've actually had those significant situations happen to you.
Mm.
So I think it's important that people see their past, not stay in their past, but they see their past and see how things that may have happened to them, that, it actually did happen to them. It wasn't, in their imagination. And then, you know, you may need to address people in your family. Like you were talking about family. How do you say, okay, this is what's happening? You may need to, if you're still able to, address people and say, like, this was done wrong, not because you want them to say sorry, but because you want to just address it and then help yourself to move forward from it and release
Mm,
them.
mm. So it's amazing. So you brought up that you were in the church and then you were ostracized from the church, right? So what led you, and we're gonna get back to shame in a second, but I just wanted to know just how did you make that transition from being ostracized and silenced in the church and now, forward
Being a minister, right?
a couple years later, we're not dating nobody, a couple years later, um, becoming a minister. Like how did that become full circle?
Um, it's amazing. It's God is sovereign. And like I stated, I grew up in the church, but I didn't have a personal relationship with God. I didn't know God for myself. I didn't have a personal experience with the Spirit of God. I just went to church because that's what I was taught. That's what I was raised. I was, this is what you do. You go to church, Sunday school, Sunday service, afternoon service,
Man,
Bible study, youth
man,
council, all these. Woo, yeah,
man.
church, right? Um, but when I went away to college, well, I didn't go away to college. I commuted, but I did have
Mhm.
some opportunities where I did go away, and I was able to, have that college experience. And I thank my grandmother for allowing me those a couple of times to do that. Um, I because of what I experienced of the pressure of being an honor student, because I had my daughter in my the 1 week before my senior year was to start, and I applied early decision to NYU, got in, so I was like free as a bird for the last year, so I was able to like kind of relax while I was
All right.
getting used to the responsibility of being a mother.
Mm.
I had to, I had a lot of stuff that happened to me. Like I had to hide the pregnancy. I had to, yeah, I had a lot that I dealt
How you
with.
hide that?
And, oh, what did you say?
How you hide that? I mean, maybe the first couple months you could hide it, but
I
how you hide that?
until until 6 months.
Oh,
I
you
hid
hid
the
it until you
pregnancy.
were 6 months. Okay.
Yeah, I hid the
Man, that's a long
pregnancy
time
until six
still.
months. And I was always like on this hamster wheel. So I was the honor student. I still continue to do, I was still in AP classes, still, on honor
Wow.
roll, all these things. And then I went to NYU and I continued on. And then I felt it was kind of sad. Like, what would people think if they knew that you were a teen mom? Or things like, what you can't, I used to play the flute. Oh, you can't, play the flute anymore in church. So was programmed to
Wow.
compartmentalize my life. So
Mm.
it was my school life, my academic world, and then my mother world, and being a mother, a parent. So I kept doing that for so long, and like I couldn't do it anymore. I
Mm.
had what people call a nervous breakdown, but I never called it that. I was depressed. I was
Mm.
seriously depressed, and knew I did what I knew, and that was to go to church. And I kept having a release, and I kept going to Bible studies like in the city. Like I would go to class, and then there was um, I joined the choir at NYU, and there are young people, who are praising God in a different expressive way than what I've experienced before. And I was like, I want that joy. What is that joy? Like, I didn't see that before. I'd never experienced that. So I went to Bible studies and I went to services that were different. Like, it was like non-denominational churches.
Mm.
And after going and being so stressed, I went to a service for like Father's Day, and the Spirit of God touched me and changed my life from there.
Mm.
And then a couple of months later, I just felt the presence of God to say that I had something to give in terms of ministry, like God was like speaking to me, and that I was to preach the good news. And it took me so long to understand what that was. I didn't know what that was. I was like, what's
Mm-hmm.
happening? But I was just letting God just lead me through those places, because I was in such a broken state. First, I
Mm.
was, in such a broken state. But then when I had that experience with God, I felt so comforted and so secure. than
Mm.
I've ever felt before.
Mm.
So that was at first, it was that spiritual experience, and then a couple of months later to about a year later, it was more about my vocation and where I was going to go in my life. Like I was, I wanted to help people, but I didn't know what that looked like. And so
Mm.
that's how I became a minister. And that's been a journey in itself because, like I said, like this journey of healing that I'm going on, obviously it's not like linear. It's up and
Right.
down. It's been years, but it's all about working through the process. And if you have information, like one of my scriptures that I feel is like, I think it's Second Peter 2 or something, where it says, God will give us everything we need. And I believe that so much because I believe
Mm-hmm.
that God will give us the resources that we need to get help
Mm.
if we need help. And
Mm.
so for me, when I was dealing with all of the stuff that I was dealing with, in college, I sought therapy because I knew church was good for me on Sundays, but Monday through Saturday, I needed some other tools to be able
Right.
to deal with life.
So I'm gonna let you finish. I just want people to understand. Just put a pin in that. You can have Christ,
And
and you can
therapy.
have enter. Continue. Go ahead. I don't want to say that. Go
That's
ahead.
right.
Go ahead.
That's one of the things that I said. But the thing is, and it's like, I'm so happy, Terrence, that you did this live asking me about this stuff because I'm just thinking, let's see, what was that, 20 years ago? 20 years ago, things were different. Okay, so now, I feel a little old. I don't feel old because,
No, no. Hey, I ain't saying nothing about no age.
yeah.
I ain't getting in that conversation.
I
That's
don't
not my.
care.
That's
I'm
not my
happy
arena.
to say no. I'm happy to say that I'm 43. I'm going to be 43 on Sunday.
Hey,
But
you said
20,
it, and you look amazing. First of all, let's clap it up. She looks amazing. 43. Now, be clear. You know what I'm saying? Now we got to give it up. You got your masters. You got one master's. Aren't you going for your master's in divinity too? Like,
yeah,
no.
next year.
Like, we
I'll be
got to
graduating next year.
we got to celebrate that. We got to be honest and say, you're doing amazing things, and we got to honor that and give you your flowers while you're here because that's amazing to come through everything that you come from, and come through. You're doing amazing, and you look amazing. You know what I'm saying? And you don't look like what you've been through. You know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you.
So, but we can continue this conversation. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I'm
So,
not gonna preach today.
okay. So, my kids like get on me when I do that, and my friends too, because I just do it. I'm just joking, because
Speaking of friends, shout out to Taniki. She said, "Hey." So,
Hey,
yeah.
Taniki,
She
and
made a
I think
comment,
I
and
saw. I
Jim
know
Lee
that
said, I
who
think Jim Lee said, she said that she is inspired by you. So, respect to you. You
who
know what
said
I'm
that?
saying?
Who said that?
You can't see the comments, girl. What's going on
No,
over there?
I can't. I can't see.
Nah,
I only
nah.
see the clapping.
Nah, it's Jim Lee. Her at name is Jim Lee.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good.
Jim
Good. Good.
Lee. So yeah.
Okay.
So just
So
saying,
back.
you're doing
So
amazing things. Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So what I wanted to say is, so back then in
Mm-hmm.
19 was it maybe 98,
Right.
99, there was a stigma about mental illness. There was a stigma about mental illness.
Well,
And then
before
let's
99.
be clear, let's call
Yeah.
a spade. In the
Let's do
Black
it.
community, there was
Facts.
definitely a stigma of mental illness. And then on another level, in the Black church, you did
Yo.
not talk about feeling depressed. So
Yo.
it was having to deal with, if you felt
Man.
depressed, then that meant you didn't have a good relationship with
With
God
God.
or
That
a
means you didn't
strong
pray enough.
relationship with God.
That
You
means you
didn't
ain't
pray,
pray enough.
you didn't pray enough, and that you needed to be delivered, and that
Yeah.
you did not repent of your sins.
Mm-hmm.
So, in context, what's going on with me about 20 years ago is all of that
Mm-hmm.
embedded
Mm-hmm.
theology that I had to deal with because I so wanted God to love me.
Mm.
I so wanted to feel like I was valuable.
Mm.
My Christianity told me that I was. However, the church messages were like, if you're dealing with struggles or if something like that, that means you're not doing this, you're not paying enough tithe, you're not doing all these things. Crazy
Big
stuff,
thing.
right?
Big time. Big time.
Toxic theology. So that's a lot
Hmm.
what I talk about too. I like to talk about how I have over these years and even recently more a little bit more adamant and aggressive about undoing all of these tapes that have really done a lot of damage to my psyche because of like, theology, because it's like, that's not true. That's not true. But I thought it, I believed it. So
Hmm.
anyway, so back then it was a lot of that. So when I would go to church or share with someone that, I'm going through this, that's exactly what they do. Pray more, do this,
Yep.
do
Yep.
that. I was praying, I was fasting, I was doing all these things, and it wasn't helping. So I knew that I needed to get help because I was in dark places. I was in dark places many times. And so I knew that I had to go get help. So I went and got help, and I sought out therapy from psychologists, from psychiatrists, from social workers, because I knew that I was responsible for my own life and I couldn't maintain it Sundays and Wednesdays by going, and I knew that there was some things that were going on, and I didn't really put two and two together about the things that I've experienced and how it really affected me until maybe like 15 years ago.
Hmm.
I didn't recognize that um, being in, and I say this like a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to share, and it was like something that was very poignant for me and very like transparent and vulnerable, that I didn't recognize that being an orphan, because that's exactly what I was, and I even hate that term, would put me in a place that would hurt me in terms of like my development.
Mm.
Um, there's like studies that show that like if a child loses a parent or one of both parents before the age of 6, they're more susceptible to feelings of shame and low self-esteem. There's studies about it.
Mm.
And I didn't know these things. I just thought I was always a kid who was shy and I didn't feel like I belonged. Like that's
Mm.
as a kid. This was before I was, all the other stuff that happened as
Hmm.
a child. I didn't know that that was the reason why, because I didn't have that nurturing of my parents to do all of that for me. So I was
Wow.
always like kind of like aimless. So that's why I'm like really like just like a proponent of like knowing what shame does so that we can like overcome it and we can get over
Right.
it.
Right.
So this is like a lot. And if you don't recognize or if you don't acknowledge what you've been through, not so that you hold the badge and you walk around and saying, okay, this is me and this is where I stand and this is where I'm going to be. But if you use that information to see how you can kind of undo things or address certain traumas in your life, then you're going to kind of stay in that space. So
Mm.
I'm more about like, doesn't matter what's happened to you, no matter what you've been through, if there was a traumatic experience that happened, it doesn't discount you, it doesn't, discredit you, and you
Right.
don't have to stay in that space.
And sometimes we have to give ourselves some grace. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
Shameless plug. Shameless plug. But it's facts. It's facts.
yes, I love that
It.
shirt. I didn't even see. So I can't see it because you're flipped.
What, what you mean you can't? You
You're
should.
flipped.
I know your birthday is coming up in a couple of days. We're not going to talk about the age and eyes, but we're gonna leave it later. Um,
No, you're flipped. I see it. I'm reading it backwards. I
I'm
even,
just playing with you. No, I'm just playing with you. So Jim Lee said this is a very real and a very deep and real conversation, real life stuff. I can relate in so many ways. She said, thank you for this important moment. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you.
yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Because I feel like this is why I have this platform. This is why I had this conversation. This is why I wanted to have these conversations, to have the tough conversations, the conversations that we don't want to talk about, the conversations that we go to bed with ourselves, and we just talk to ourselves about, right? I want to bring it out so that we can have this conversation and help other people. But and it's amazing because when you talk about the church, and this is not like a bash of the church type of segment, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. And when they say like, oh, I hear it a lot. When like sometimes like the old generation says, oh, we want that old time of religion back, and I'm like, hey man, no, 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 y'all not gonna keep that, because that's the same type of stuff that has kept us mentally deprived, that has
Mm.
kept us in a space, right, where it's just like we need to come out from. Like we need to really come out from that and be honest, because a lot of times we weren't like back then. We weren't honest with
Right,
the church. You wasn't honest with your family. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Because you knew what it was going to come with. Like you
right.
knew what was going to come with it. And when they say, "Oh, go talk to the bishop," or "Go talk to the pastor," and then you go talk to him, and then he's telling you, "Oh, you got to pray, read the scripture, read that scripture." You know what I'm saying? But what you really needed was healing of from a therapist. Like that's what you needed. Like that's what you really needed. There's a place to go talk to, the pastor there. There's a place for that, and there's a place to do that. But then there's a place where, I need medical. So like if I go outside, God forbid, right now, and break my leg, am I going to church? And my legs like
Right.
and my legs like this. Am I going to the church or am I going to the emergency room?
You
I'm gonna
are
be honest. I'm
going
going to the
to
emergency
the
room
emergency
because
room.
I'm gonna need my leg to go back here, right?
And you're
And
going to ask for the saints to pray for you. Yes.
all that, but I'm gonna head to the
Simultaneously.
emergency room. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I think,
Yeah.
but
I know.
there, but that's okay, right? Physically, right? Because
Right.
it's like, oh, it's doctors and medication. That's what it's cool, right? But when it comes to like your mental health,
Yeah.
it's like, oh no, no, no. You can't go to a therapist. You can't go to a psychologist. Like, no, 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 no. That's not what we do. But it's like, but it's an illness. It's a sickness. It's certain things that needs correcting and certain things that you need to address. And honestly, things that sometimes your pastor, your bishop, or whoever it is not qualified
Right. Not qualified for it.
to diagnose or to address.
Right. Absolutely.
And
Right.
I think that's where down the line back then we've kind of fumbled the ball a little bit.
Mhm.
And now we come full circle, and now we're in a place where, and thankfully so, that we have people like yourself who is out there on the front lines talking about these things in the church and saying, no, no, this stuff has to change. Because that in itself is a cycle of dysfunction. Like when you talk about stuff that's in the church, not everything from the church is good. There are some great things about the church, absolutely. But then there's parts of it that we can't ignore that's not good, that we have to weed out and cut
Mhm.
the dysfunction from the absolute root and say, no, no, no. We got to implement certain programs. So maybe that you bring therapists in the church.
Right. Absolutely.
Like we can't continue to ignore these things as if they don't a plague and affect our community in certain ways. Because they do. And
Right.
these are the same people that are paying times. These are the same people that are come supporting you. These are the same people that's driving, getting, wasting. I won't say wasting, but like they're using their gas every Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. You got all types of services over here, man. You got prayer service, you got Sunday morning, you got Sunday night, you got Sunday school, you got Wednesday night service, you got Tuesday service, you got food service, you got every type of service in there, and they're coming to support you in the building, but you're not addressing the needs of the people.
Right. Right.
And that's where for me it's just like we've got to do a better job. You know what I'm saying? As a people and as a church to really just kind of say, hey, nah, man, we got to address these issues for our community too.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And I do want to say, like, in defense of the church, they have been making some changes. Like the support or the acknowledgement of mental health awareness has kind of become more of it comes to the forefront and has become something that is important. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
so grateful that that is happening because people are recognizing that, just like I said, like Sunday is great, but Monday through Saturday, what are we doing? How are we showing
Mm-hmm.
up? And I've been always about balance. You know, the things that I say and how I want to live my life is also based on experiences and watching people. And I've been around people who've been in the church all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they are unable to function in like society, but they're like really
Mm-hmm.
well versed in the Bible, but they didn't have the ability to be balanced. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important that, and I see that the church is making those changes and they are addressing people's mental needs and
Mm-hmm.
mental and emotional needs. And it was, I guess it maybe have been at a time, it was a little confusing
Hmm.
for people because they are feeling so good when they go to church. They're having these emotional experiences. So of course they're going to go to the pastor, they're going to go to the minister and expect and hope for some help. But the pastors and the ministers may not be trained or were not trained to assist the
Enough.
person. So all they did was tell them what they knew, and what they knew
Hmm.
was pray.
Right.
So that was what was going on. And then over the years, people have realized the need for mental health treatment, and that we do need to have therapists in the churches alongside pastors. There's also in
Mm-hmm.
seminary, I'm in seminary, there's also a discipline, pastoral care and counseling for those who want to pastor and also help people, counsel them.
Hmm.
Um, to help them with those things that they deal with. But I definitely think it's important to have licensed mental health professionals to be in the church, because there are people who are dealing with so much stress, especially in the Black community. They may be dealing with poverty. They may be dealing with inadequacies and equities that they're dealing with
Hmm.
on a day-to-day basis, and they may need that support. So,
Hmm. Um, so Kerry Fields says we still need a level of wisdom. We can't be so heavily minded that we're no earthly good.
yes,
And
yes,
she's
Carrie.
absolutely correct. Shout out to Kerry. She's an incredible gospel singer. She just dropped a single today.
Oh, okay.
Y'all follow her. Go get that. She's got a powerful voice. I tell you not if you don't hit the Holy Ghost wing. I
No.
swear, like and no, but in all honesty, in all sincerity, her voice is incredible. And she's just as far as an angel, her voice is angelic. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll never steer you wrong. Um, but and congratulations to you, Carrie, on dropping that single. It's absolutely amazing. Um, so when it comes to growth, right? So we talked about just kind of just how you know, how shame has affected us, as far as mentally. And I find that shame prohibits you from growing too,
Hmm.
um, because it almost is as if that it makes you feel like you're this big, right?
Hmm.
Like you're so small, right? And that could prohibit you from actually getting to the next level in your career. Um, it could be in business, entrepreneurship, whatever of the case is, or whatever it is that you want to do. Even in that relationship that you have, the shame that you have from your past or for whatever it is, it could prohibit that relationship from growing. It could prohibit you from getting that promotion. It could prohibit you from opening that business because you feel like you're so inadequate, and you feel like, you know what, I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to be able to do it. Nobody's going to buy from me. Nobody's going to want me to speak. Nobody, why would they want me to speak to the masses, right?
Yeah.
Like, these are the things that you start telling yourself, right?
Hmm.
Because of the shame that you feel.
Yeah.
Um, so it's got to be a point where, as far as getting over therapy, excuse me, getting over shame, it's therapy. That's one of the ways. Two, for me, I would say I'm always an advocate for journaling. Um,
Hmm.
yes, men should journal. I journal. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, not everything is feminine. Like, y'all gotta. I'm just gonna say that y'all gotta get off the kick. There's nothing wrong with journaling. It's not about
And sharing your
diving.
emotions. You got to let it
Yeah,
out.
like,
Get out.
because sometimes as men, some men don't like to verbalize certain things, right? So if you don't verbalize, maybe you could jot it down, right? Because as long as it doesn't stay in here, that's the biggest thing. As long as it doesn't stay here and just decay within inside of you, because that's what can happen, and that's what will happen. So yeah, so for me, I would say journaling, um, therapy, journaling, getting it out. What else do you think?
I just like self-care, and self-care to
Hmm.
me is not just, massages and bubble baths and all of that,
I
but
like a good
it's,
massage, though. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I
I like a
do.
good
I
massage.
actually
Though.
scheduled my massage for tomorrow for my birthday, so there's that. Um,
Hey.
um, self-care means like taking care of yourself, checking in
Hmm.
with yourself, doing
Hmm.
things that you like, helping yourself to grow, like
Hmm.
deciding and or or discovering what things that you like to do. I mean,
Hmm.
many of us have just been going and going. We've had a little break because of, COVID and everything, but let's think about what is it that you like to do? What gives you joy? Like that's where I'm all about. Like do things that give you joy. If it's being with friends,
That's a big
doing
thing.
crafts, travel, things like, well, within reason. Just making sure that you're taking care of yourself. That's part of self-love and self-care, is that doing things and learning who you are and being
Mm.
in touch and in tune with who you are, so that you're not just going and being a shell of a person, but that you're really taking time to really take care of yourself.
Mm.
So it's self-care, self-love. And for me, it's like creating a support system. As I stated, like I don't really have family. Only have my
Hmm.
grandmother who's elderly. So I decided a couple of years ago that I'm going to create family from my friends. And so because I've been intentional on that, that has been
Yep.
my support. Um,
Period.
and it's been very helpful because when you have support, you don't feel alone.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I do. I feel, if you want to make like not minimize it, but like trivialize it, to get over shame, this is what you do. These are the steps. It's not. It's an
No.
ongoing
No.
process. It's everything.
Hmm.
You're always going to find something that you're dealing with. God is always going to help you discover, oh, this is something that you may need to address. And just because God wants you to be whole and healthy.
Hmm.
So it's a journey. So that's
Hmm.
what I do. I'm just constantly just checking in with myself and making sure
Hmm.
that I'm I'm getting better every day. And also, like you said, give yourself grace. That's so
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I actually was looking at my notes because I actually am writing a book and it's going to be done soon, Terrence. Really, I promise everybody on this live.
Hey, listen, I believe it, so I'm
I'm
good.
going to say, I don't think I've ever said this before. The amount
Exclusive.
Listen, the amount of writing that I've done and
Oh,
the
I know
things
you've
that
done a
God
lot of
has
writing.
realized, like I've realized I have to. I must like send it.
Oh,
It
I know
has.
you got a lot of writing. Oh, I
I,
know you
I've
got a lot
held
of writing.
it. I've held it because I've dealt with this, you know, dealt with like being a perfectionist.
Yeah, and um, listen, we're on the same wave. You gonna have a book coming out. You already know I'm writing.
Right.
We're on the same wave with that. But what's another form of self care? It's cutting people off.
Oh,
No, no,
Lord.
no. Hey, no, I'm gonna call a spade a spade because sometimes, because you said keeping the circle, right? The circle, like keeping the friends, right? Like, because you're in my position where my friends are my family. I have a very small, like, family, like, it's small and whatever, right? But my friends are my family. That's a
Mhm.
fact. And at the end, and I treat them as such, right? So, but also a part of self care is sometimes the people that's not really for you, you gotta let them go. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There are certain people that are going to put their expectations on you about what they think you should be doing. And, oh, no, you shouldn't be doing that. Then you should be doing this. And you should be doing things the way I need you to do. Not like, those people got to go.
Mhm.
Like, there's certain people in your life that's not meant for the long haul. That's not meant for the whole journey. That's not meant for the whole picture. That's not meant for you while like, you couldn't open that business if you kept this person close
Mhm. Right.
because they would prohibit you from growing. Right. So and sometimes we've got to stop pretending like cutting people off. It's not a form of self care because it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It absolutely is a form of self care because not everybody is made to roll with you. Not
Right.
everybody can make it from A to Z. You know what I'm saying? There might be somebody along the way, you know what I'm saying, that's right in the middle of your journey that's gonna hop on with you and that's gonna propel you to the places that you need to be. But
Mhm.
if you got somebody right here with you that's just hogging the space, they can't. That person that's supposed to be here, and I'm not even talking about platonic. No, I'm not talking about like a relationship. I'm talking about just platonic people. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Just friends or business people. There could be somebody right now that is supposed to be in your life to bless you, to take you to the next level. But you
Right,
got this person here. Yo, I've been riding with this person since 1995. Yo, they riding with me, and they're not doing nothing for you. Nothing for you.
right,
And it's like, yo, at some point, they got to get off the bus. And if they're not really helping you grow, helping you manifest, and helping you along the way, and if it's a mutual thing, then they got to get off the bus. And that's
right,
okay. And there's no beef. There's no strife and nothing like that. I love you, but we don't got to be close.
right, right,
Period. You know
right.
what I'm saying? So I think that we do have to, and I think sometimes we're afraid of losing people. You know what I'm saying? I see the quotes. Oh, not everybody, is replaceable. Nah, a lot of people are replaceable. A lot of people are replaceable.
Man,
You know,
stop.
no. I'm keeping it up. I'm keeping it a buck. I'm keeping it honest here. There are
Yes,
people that
you
are
are keeping, yeah, you are
replaceable.
keeping it honest. Yes, yes.
There are people that
People,
are
some
replaceable
people are supposed to be in your life. What? Some people, what do they say? Some people are supposed to be in your life for a
for
season
season.
or a lifetime, but there's a third one.
See, but here's the thing. Sometimes, like, I live in New York. We live in New York. That winter season is a long season.
Oh,
And
geez, here we
sometimes,
go.
no, I'm serious. I'm not being serious. Sometimes you gotta cut that person off halfway into winter. You
Right,
can't last the whole season of winter with me. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Because at the end of the day, those are countless months, countless days, countless seconds that you're taking from me. You're
right,
taking from me. You're
right.
not pouring into me. You're taking from me.
Right. But
You
it's,
know?
see, that's when it's important that that you realize that you have to love yourself.
Facts.
And if you feel ashamed, and if you feel
Mm-hmm.
that emotion of shame, you're not going to really love yourself, and you're not going to think that you deserve love, or you're not going to think that you deserve healthy love. So you're going to be in places or in relationships, either platonic relationships or romantic relationships, where you're going to settle for less. Nobody,
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying any person is less than anyone. I'm just
Right,
saying
right,
like
right.
that person is just not for you, or they're not on your side, or they're not going to
Mm-hmm.
help you grow. So if you're feeling like, you don't deserve it, you're not unlovable, you're going to be in those places where you're going to stay in that season of the winter longer than you should. So,
And that's a big fact. And that's what I mean by saying that, what I'm saying, just keeping people around for too long is a form, I'm saying that's a form of self-sabotage, if you ask me.
that's true. Yep,
You know
that's
what I'm
true.
saying? Because a lot of times for us, we self-sabotage our own success. And you know that a lot of times, like, hey, you know what? This isn't expected of me, so I'm not going to get to this level and I'm not going to get to. No, like sometimes we self-sabotage our own success, right?
Uh-huh.
By keeping the wrong people around. You know what I'm saying? By keeping the wrong family around, by keeping the wrong friends around. And it's because they're familiar.
Right, right. It's
You know what I'm
comfortable.
saying?
It's
It's
comfortable.
comfortable. And to me, comfortable to me is a cousin of death. You know what I'm saying? Because at some point something is going to die there. Whether
Mm,
that be, I don't mean physically, but I mean either your dreams, your hopes, your career, your
right,
love life, whatever it is, if you stay in that season of just comfortable, you're never going to stretch to the
right.
places, what I'm saying, that you need to be. And that's what life is about. It's stretching. It's seeing what can you do. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I can't do one push-up today. Maybe I could do 10 in a month because I'm being stretched or whatever the case is, right? My thing is life is about stretching. Life is just about trying new things, you know what I'm saying? Trying to get it right and seeing how far we can go in life. We got one life to live, only one life to live. And a lot of us are going to die with the dreams and the visions that we have all to ourselves. And it never made it out to the world.
Yeah. Yeah, people, I
And
mean,
that's a shame.
that's a shame. And the thing
Yep.
is, it's because they felt shame, and
Yep.
they die with the shame. They don't feel that there's any safe place to talk about what happened to them. And they die
Mm-hmm.
with those secrets. They die with those pains, those traumas,
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't know that they didn't have to hold that in. They didn't know that they could get help. One of
Mm-hmm.
my I was reading, I was like, oh my gosh, I published a blog post with Vine
Yes, you
Publishing,
did. Talk
shameless
that talk.
plug.
Talk that talk. Talk that talk.
Um, And I was reading it, and it was I think I titled it "Go Heal Thyself," and that's another thing that I
Mm-hmm.
believe God also gave me. Like God had like given me like marching orders, like this is your theme for this season of your life. And the other
Mm,
one, and one of the themes is go heal thyself. Do whatever you need to do in order to get the healing that you need to get.
mm,
And
mm,
a lot of people, a lot of older people have dealt with so many things that have happened. They've been, sexually assaulted and molestation,
mm,
things, horrible things that have happened. They've never told anyone, and they've held that secret for so long and they blame themselves for things that have happened to them. And they're older, and they still feeling like the age they were when that happened to them.
mm,
And we have the resources
mm-hmm.
now. We're in the like information age, right? You
Big
can
time.
you can get therapy that you don't even have to leave your house. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful to God. Well, I'm in therapy all the time, right? So every week I have my therapist on my laptop, and I'm
Mm.
able to do the
Yeah,
television
easy.
video because I know that I need that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sometimes they're very stressful, like you said, with everything that I'm doing right now. I get stressed out. And I know that sometimes I just get a little too anxious and I worry about things. All my friends know
Smidge.
about everything. And then it
A
works
little
out.
bit.
And then it works out. But I'm learning some tools in order to how to manage the stress. But
Mm,
I'm taking advantage of the resources,
mm. As you
like
should.
getting the therapy. Okay, not everyone may have the access to it because insurance, and I'm very grateful that I have a very great job and great insurance. But nowadays, because of everything with COVID, there are free resources for therapy.
Mm-hmm.
There's Talk Space. There's Better Health. There's a couple of things are free if you're afraid that about going outside and contracting COVID. You can do the video visits, telephonic services. There's services for people to get the help, to talk it out, talk to somebody. Like I feel
Mm.
like cognitive behavior therapy, all these types of DBT therapy, talking
Mm.
to someone helps a lot of
Yes,
people. And if
it does.
you need medication, and there's no shame in that. There's
Nope.
no shame in that.
Absolutely. So listen, I think this is a perfect place to kind of put a pin in it. We're almost at an hour. And I think that we should I think that, if the people want it, I think that we should revisit this conversation and maybe a couple other conversations. That is important to the community. And and so, first of all, again, for the people that just joined us, um, she's having a birthday Sunday. So please, please follow her on Instagram. Birthday gift, follow her on Instagram. If you need a speaker, book her for a speaking engagement. If you want to interview her, hit her DM. Um, ask her to come on your show. She is amazing.
Thank you.
She's a mother of two. Um, and an incredible mother, incredible story. Don't ever stop, don't ever quit, because we need more people like you here. We need more women like you here. We need more people who's willing to tell their story, and to change the old narrative, and to change the old ways. So I just
Thank,
want to give you your flowers while you're here. I
thanks,
appreciate you.
Charlie.
We
I
honor you. We
appreciate
love
you
you here.
too.
Yeah,
Love
no,
you
no,
too,
no,
Charlie.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we honor you here, because it's so important that we do that, for our people. You know what I'm saying? And always just remember to just give yourself some grace.
Yes, I love
No, no,
it.
no, 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 I'm just kidding. But listen, we got about a couple seconds left. Tell the people where they can find you again.
I am on Instagram as Eshe Speaks. I am on Facebook, Eshe Killian or Eshe Speaks, but I post more on Eshe Killian Facebook. Thank you
That's
so
gonna
much for
change.
listening. Huh?
That's a change. Yeah, come on over to IG, start posting over here. People got love
Listen,
for you over here. They got love for you over here.
I
You know what I'm
know,
saying?
but I'm old. Instagram, you know it's
We
hard for
about to
me with
hang up. All
Instagram.
right, this show is about to be over.
Thank you,
You
everyone.
were doing so well. Um, I'm gonna get over to IG a little bit more often because she needs to be on here. But listen,
And
thank
also,
you.
yeah, and hopefully you'll be able to post this to Facebook because a lot of
I will.
people wanted to be part of
I,
the conversation on Facebook too. But thank you
I,
so much for this opportunity. I really love Conversations of the Heart. It's really
thank you.
an impactful
Thank you.
show. What you're on like 7 different places, like Spotify, Pandora.
It's about like 12 places right now.
Excuse me.
No. I mean, you asked. Yeah. We out here on Spotify, iHeartRadio.com, Amazon Music, Pandora, Anchor, um, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Look, it is what it is. Wherever you have a podcast, this is going to be on. It's going to be on YouTube too. It'll be on Facebook later. You know what I'm saying? Because the word has to get out. Your story has to get out, and this is why I created this. Because I want people like you to be heard. I want to have unfiltered, raw conversations that it's not scripted and it's not just like, oh, here's the questions I'm going to be asking you and we got to real. No, like I want it to be like this. I want it to be real, and that's what you are. That's what this is. So I appreciate you. Happy Mother's Day. Happy birthday.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. All right, so we'll do this again.
Okay,
I
great.
promise. All right, guys.
Good.
Take
Have
care.
a good night, everyone.